Hi there, this is Dani Beaumont. I am on the Adobe XD team. I'm a product manager, and this is the Adobe XD tips and tricks. I'm going to wait for a thumbs up on audio and video, and we're going to get started in just a few minutes. Okay, good. Looks like we're ready to go. So, if you come to XD in your life, you may just be a brand new UX designer that is just getting started in your career. You may be an Adobe Creative Cloud user that's familiar with using Illustrator or Photoshop or InDesign to do some of your user experience work. But it's also quite likely that you come to XD through using other tools like InVision or Sketch. And in this session, I wanted to just really take that perspective for a moment and talk about how, as either a Sketch user or a new user, taking Sketch content and moving it forward in your workflow is a really useful path. So we're going to just take a little bit of time today and step through that process. Okie doke. Let me switch over here real quickly. I hate full screen in the browser. It never works well. Okay. I'm going to do one other thing. Keep an eye on chat. So as we work today, if you have questions, please go ahead and let me know what those questions are in the comments section of this Facebook Live session. So I will be, I'm looking at too many things all together. It's a truly bizarre experience when you're streaming live on Facebook using some of these tools. So as I present a little bit today, if you have questions, throw it in the chat bot. I really enjoy the communication. I'm joined by Gabrielle on our team, and she'll help me keep an eye on any of those questions that I might have missed. Taking it from the top, XD has been around for 18 months. It's been shipping. I've personally been involved in, as of pretty soon, we're working on our next release of XD, and I'll have personally been responsible for writing blog posts and talking about new feature releases for 46 distinct features in the last year with XD. It's come a long way. That capability is pretty incredible. But there is a whole history of Sketch content that's out there that you as an XD user can really take advantage of. So whether it is different icons that are in the Sketch format, or UI kits, or actual designs that have been built out, leveraging that Sketch content is a great place to start. So when I was doing research a little bit the last few days, I just kind of went to the Google and I just typed in downloading Sketch icons, UI kits, and designs, and found a plethora of content. Here's an example right here. So over 100 simple lines in Sketch resource. So it's a free asset that you can download. There are all sorts of libraries that are leverageable, which are another way of looking at symbols that you can use in your workflow, UI kits. Also, because InVision has something called Craft and the Craft plugin, they also have built out some really good Sketch content that can be useful to you. So just to show you a little bit of this, I'll spell it out probably more than we need to. I'm going to come in and just download this Sketch file. So I've got it here on my machine. I'll go ahead and browse to that file. If the demo gods are kind to me today. Okay. So I've got my Finder here open on the side. Let's go ahead and close this guy out a little bit. Here's XD open. I also have Sketch open. And let me just come in and focus on that file for a moment here. So here's Simple Lines by Mirko Monti. And again, it's a free resource that's available. If I want to work with it, one of the first things that I probably do need to do, depending on how old the Sketch file is go on in and open it in Sketch and then make sure that I save it out in the latest version of Sketch. So I'll go ahead and open up this file. As I mentioned, I do have Sketch open. Here is that file, all of the icons that are here. And really simply, I'm just going to pull that on File to save. I want to save it out in the latest Sketch version. And I'll go ahead and minimize that. When I switch over to XD now, I'll go into, let's try the XD application, and I want to come in and deal with that sketch file. So when you're working with Illustrator or Photoshop content, you can open that content and convert it over by way of selecting File Open. So I can come to the menu and say File Open and open that native file. I also can select File Import and actually import Illustrator and Photoshop content directly on the design canvas of a project that I'm already working on. For Sketch, we support the ability to open up the Sketch content. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that on File to open. Another way that I can do it is to right-click on the file and then select XD as the application that I'm opening with. It will work as well. So it's considered one of the types, one of the file types that I'll work with. See what I just did there. Try this guy. Maybe the demo gods are going to be mean to me today. Let's go ahead and go to my computer. I'll go to my downloads folder. There's that file. When I come inside, I'm going to open up the sketch file. And what you'll see is that it opens incredibly fast. So that just happened very, very quickly. And if I now dig in on the content that's here, I can see that this is not just a flattened bitmap. It's very fast because I'm working in XD, but if I dig in on any of these elements, I can come in and select individual elements here. So this is a grouped set. I can go look at the layers panel and start to get a sense of what that grouping's like. I've got a locked background that's here, but I'm just going to select everything and unlock for a while. So I'll hit Command L, select all, and just unlock my elements. I can come into an individual object here and using the direct select tool, so Shift Command on the Mac or Shift Control on Windows, and then click to select this guy, which is not cooperating with me. Let's just see. This is what happens when you grab a file that you've never touched before, actually demoing it. Notice that everybody's locked over here in my layers panel. So I'll go ahead and unlock and try again. Here's my individual item. Let's say I like it, but I want to edit it. I can come in and ungroup that object if I'd like and start to get into the raw elements that are here. I can also look at the layers that are here as well. So if I direct select now on any one of these items, notice that it's fully editable vector content. So that's just a set of icons. Let's go grab a different file that I think is a little bit more interesting. And it's a full design that has artboards, symbols or library items, colors, and character styles associated with it. So I'm going to go ahead and select File Open. And I'm going to go browse to the directory that I set up a little earlier here today. So this is the Hoffman UI kit. I opened it up a little earlier today. So what I did was opened up Sketch, saved it out, assuming this is the version that's been saved in Sketch. Let's just see. And then saved it back out again. Okay, so this is kind of a nice, complicated original Sketch file. And what the team that was responsible for the importer for Sketch did is they delivered this feature probably 4 months ago, and they got feedback from the users and did what they call a fast follow. So they went back and improved on what they had done for this conversion process based on feedback from users. So one of the things that was a little difficult for users to understand is where their artboards were, where their different symbol elements were. So when I import the content, let's go ahead and look at this in the Sketch format first. So here I am within Sketch, and I can see these main elements that are here. If I switch back over to XD and zoom on in, there are just categories that the XD team offers you just to allow you to really get a sense in a very different application than Sketch how you can access all of that content. So I've got a component section. Notice that there's a header here that's created, and that's based on the details in the Sketch file. There are the guidelines, or what we often on the XD team call the brand kit. So there are a series of icons that are buttons here, colors and such, different UI elements, and some typographic elements. So let's say I want to use this as a design system, and I want it to be more native to XD. I'm going to keep showing you what's here, but we'll go through the process of actually pulling some of this content in. Notice the page template section that's here. I've got different layouts, so I've got a desktop, tablet, and smartphone version of the same design with different layout elements. I might want to work with these parts, or I want to go back up to that brand kit and icon set and build out my own work. All right, I am going to glance now that I'm a little more on my demo feet at chat and make sure the world is good. All right, looks like we got some good folks being a little bit quiet for my taste as well. But stick with me, we're going to keep going. So back over into XD. I've got those artboards, as I mentioned, and the design. I may want to leverage it, but I don't necessarily have to. As I scroll down a little bit lower, notice that there's a symbol section here. And in Sketch, it looks like both individual artboards are probably hero areas in this instance, so the header element was saved out actually as a symbol or a library item. Below that, I have different pods that were saved out, different elements, UI, headers, and such. So it's, again, a really nice starting design that has a whole lot of content to it. For what I'm doing right now, interestingly enough, I'm going to be a little dramatic here. I'm going to go to everything that's in the symbol library here, and I'm just going to delete it. The reason for that is if I come over into the Assets panel of XD and scroll on down to the symbol area, everything I'm seeing on the design canvas is actually here on the left-hand side. So I don't need to have it on an artboard or on my design canvas unless I'm actively working with it. So knowing that that's there in the symbol area, I'm going to come on in and just quickly delete all of the symbols here. My work has been done well so far. I don't need to have that around any longer. The other thing that I like to do is organize my content a little more specifically or to my specific design needs, let's say. So a lot of times I know that when I'm designing, I don't necessarily know what I want. So I'll experiment with typefaces and colors and layout. And a lot of times there'll be some cruft left over where there might be a variation on a typeface, a different point size that I didn't necessarily intend, that's contained somewhere in the file. And I can't necessarily clean it out that easily. There's some nice tricks for extracting consciously fonts and colors from work that you're doing. So notice here when I imported this sketch file, it came with all of the type styles, the character styles that are in use in the design. So if I look down on this list, there are a lot of different typefaces that are in use somewhere here within the design. And if I want to figure out where that is, maybe I want to change it or just be aware of it, I can come to any object in the character style section here and select highlight on canvas. And I can see up front here, there's that headline right there in this individual artboard. So if I want to try to clean things up, rolling over the object and then selecting highlight on canvas will show how many times these elements are in use. And again, I find this Hoffman design to be really, really well structured and organized. But sometimes if things are messy, you may find stray bits that aren't really being used by anything you want to have around. I can come into the character style section here and just basically shift select everything that's here and go ahead and delete it. So wipe it away. I'm going to go ahead and do the same for, actually there aren't any colors that are already defined in this XD kit by default, so I don't have to clear those out in addition to that. Now that I kind of want to boil down or start to be organized about my typography, what I can do is take one of a few approaches. It's easy to add character styles into XD given some existing content by simply selecting it and then adding it to the Assets panel. So notice that I've got probably all of the most relevant type elements here on the right-hand side, here as part of this brand kit or this UI area. If I come in and let's say I'll go ahead and select the entire artboard, so I'm going to click on typography, which will in essence capture everything on that artboard. And then I'm going to go to the character styles and hit the plus sign. So that's brought over every single typeface that's in use there. And I can come in, examine that. I can look at a larger sort of thumbnail view, the tile view of all those typefaces. Obviously, they're looks like two different type families in use, Source Sans Pro and Montserrat, in different point sizes, spacing, and things of that sort. Once I've done that, I can come in and delete this artboard if I wanted to. I have everything contained. Now you may notice it's a little tough to see what the differences are here. We've got Montserrat at 18 points with a line space. I can see it's got character spacing of 0 and line space of 22. Just below that, there's slightly different. It has character spacing and line spacing. This is obviously a conscientious design decision, but if it was a mistake, what I can do to just merge or dovetail different design elements that are on the canvas is match their sets in the Assets panel. So let's see if I can actually pull this off as a demonstration. So I can also reverse out the way typography works here. So I can come to an instance of a font on the design canvas, bring up the right menu there, and reveal it in the character style section. So notice I can see, interestingly enough, I've selected two groups here, and I see, it's actually a full group. Let's go in and just get this one type section and go ahead and reveal that one. So there it is. I've got the Source Sans Pro at 16 point. And if I hover over it here, character spacing of 0 and 24, these look very similar, right? Character spacing of 0 and 24. What I wish XD had is the ability to select an existing typeface and just say, go on in and replace it with another typeface. We don't really have that ability up front in the tool right now, although this is definitely on our roadmap. One approach that I can take to do that is if I see things are either exactly the same or very similar, I'm going to kind of sniff this out a little bit further and go look at those two items in the grid view. It gives me slightly different details. So I've got Source Sans Pro at 12 point. If I jump over here and roll over it, character spacing is a little different. So 66.67, and this one looks like it's the same. It's pretty interesting. Well, obviously, one is a bold weight and the other one is regular. Sorry, I didn't notice that up front. But let's say I just want to manage my design and they happen to be slightly different. One was not bold. They were both very, very similar. Let's say they're different in just one point size. If I come into any one character style, so let's do this. If I highlight on the canvas, we can see where I have the instances of this typeface in use down here towards the bottom. If I decide that there are two that are very similar, a backdoor I can use to just merge those two styles together is to change that, to edit or change the attributes of one of them to be the same as the other. So I'm going to come on into the Source Sans Pro bold instance here. I'll right click and I'll select edit. And I'm going to go ahead and change it to the regular font. What you want to do is keep an eye here on the type side, here on the left. And what you should see is that the regular item disappears and they merge together. Or chances are the bold is going to disappear. When I come in here and change this to regular, and then I just click off to implement that change, I have one less style there in the character list. So yes, I merged the character styles that I defined on the left-hand side, so I have a neater list. But kind of more importantly, assuming it was a change I wanted to make, it's gone to all of the instances of that font in everything in the design throughout the entire site here, or the entire project, and changed those type attributes to match the regular, the non-bold version of the text. So this is a way, if you've got a lot of stray elements, let's say as I continued to work and I just wanted to clean up my work, I can come in and keep adding artboards, make sure I like everything I see that comes into the character area. If there are stray bits, like for example, these two Source Sans Pros, one has a little bit of tracking or spacing between the characters. This one looks to be tighter. Maybe I don't need this many variations in my design. It's an awful lot. If I'm developing this for the web, I probably want to have very clear H1, H2, P tags, body tags, things of that sort. I can come in and manage that. Okay. I'm looking, there looks like there's a couple questions. Martin likes the power. You know, Martin, the thing that's interesting about XD, because I've been a product manager for a long time and I came to the XD team a year ago, and you never get a second chance at a first impression. Um, it's an incredibly elegant program. The motto for the product or the theme is designing at the speed of thought. It's incredibly performant. It's incredibly powerful. But there are so many amazing tricks that are really built into the tool that it's pretty much what I'm constantly doing is making sure that users understand some of the capabilities that are in this powerful tool. When you take a different approach, we call it the cockpit application design model. When you look at something like Illustrator, which is 32 years old, Photoshop, which is maybe 33 years old, they are like the cockpit of a supersonic jet. There are so many dials and controls. XD works very hard to make sure that the Chrome, the UI stays out of your way. So as an experienced designer, you're not bombarded by too many details. I think the challenging part of that is finding all of these capabilities. I could go on, but yes, I think that the more we evangelize this, the more we work with our tech writers to document it and let the community know, I think the more there'll be a body of information to keep this elegant, powerful application elegant and powerful, but communicate its functionality. So Ivan is saying, if you create a symbol, how can you make a second instance without affecting the original? Let's just drop off and do that for a second. So I'm going to go here towards the symbols that I have down towards the bottom. And let's say I like this one symbol an awful lot. So I drag it onto the canvas. I can tell that it's a symbol because it has a green highlight on its edges. If it was just a normal element, it would not have those green edges. So I'm going to come in and just duplicate it really quickly. And let's do 3 of them just to show this concept off. Because these are symbols, I can come into any one instance and make a change that's going to propagate all instances because it's a symbol. So if I decide that this text should be up higher, notice that I can move it and it's going to change that for me. If I want to separate this though, and let's say detach it so I can do a variation of the symbol based on the first one. All I need to do is come to one of those instances of the symbol on the design canvas, right click and select Ungroup Symbol. We're talking about how we would change the naming of that so it's a little clearer. Rather than, what you really want to do is make it not a symbol. So you want to undo symbol or remove the symbol instance. It's not so much about ungrouping as basically detaching it from the symbol. But for now, this is the menu item I'm going to select. If I say Ungroup Symbol, I now have a normal object. Notice that when I click on it, it's ungrouped. So I can come back in and select the content again and right click to group it. So now it is grouped as are the elements to the left, but it's no longer a symbol. And I know that because the highlight here is blue, this one's green. Now that I've done that, let's say I come in and say, you know what, I really do want this to be much higher, and the icons that are down here, if I could select this properly. Let's see. I'm going to do lazy select and just lock that bit. Bring this guy down. I may like this as a variation. Once I've done everything that I want to it, let's go ahead. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to unlock those elements again. Interesting. I'm just going to just toggle that. And now that I have a variation on the symbol, all I need to do is right click and make it a symbol again. So I'll say make symbol. There's my second instance. I can come into the list view and just give it a proper name that communicates it's different. So hopefully that explains that one. All right, let's talk a little bit about how colors are handled. So pretty similar to the way character styles work. If I want to have a good color palette, I can take a couple of approaches. I've got this really nice brand kit that's here that's listing pretty much probably all of the colors in this very well organized design. So I can come into just the color section. So I'm going to select this artboard and move up to colors and just hit the plus sign and it brings those colors over. Once I've done that, I can start to add, intelligence that's better for me. If these two colors are so similar to one another that I don't really understand why I need them, I do understand why here, but I just want to explain this again. Similar to character styles, if I come in and just grab even the name of this element, let's try doing that without changing the artboard. So I'm going to deselect that. I'm just going to grab the name here. So when I add a color to my color section, it's going to name it with the hex value pretty much out of the box. If I want to change this very similar color to match the other one, so unify all instances of this color throughout the project. So keep an eye on these two guys right here. Let's see if you can keep me honest. What I can do is come into another color, go into edit. I'm going to paste that hex value. Now keep an eye on the two colors here. When I click off, I now have one color, and notice that it went through and changed all of the instances of that second color to match the first. Okay, so it's not as nice, I would say, as selecting a color and saying replace with and then choosing another, but giving the existing feature set, it's a nice backdoor to capture all existences of color on the design canvas and then swap one out for the other. If I step back a little bit more, there may be other colors that are used in the project. I think this one is a pretty religiously clean file. So I'm probably not going to run into any other stray colors, but I could continue to add individual artboards. Once I have the color set the way I like it, I can come in and use some of the names that this original sketch file used as part of the design. So if I come in here, notice that you've got, system alert. So if I want to give this a friendlier name, it's not going to change its inherent value, but I can name this one system pink and system green. I can do gray, light gray, dark gray. I can also just press and drag to move these into different locations. Notice how incredibly subtle these three sets of colors are. As a design decision, I think it's a conscious one, but you may choose to unify these so that you have less colors throughout the project through this process. All right. When is the simultaneous users feature going to be available for XD? John, I can't tell you the future. I just can't. But it's something that the team is taking seriously. They want to do it well. It is in progress. It's something that we showed at Max probably 2 years ago, which was, we probably should not have shown it quite so early because we, again, want to do it well. It is on our radar. Keep your ear to the ground. Follow the new releases in the next period of time. But it's not something that we can announce right now or that you can touch right now. But to that end, we do continue to do more and more work towards collaboration. If you have been familiar with some of the updates for XD in the last few months, in December of this year, we started to support cloud documents. And that's one way that gets you closer to collaboration. So let me explain what John's asking about. Yeah, I know. You can definitely always make an XD employee feel uncomfortable by mentioning live editing at Max 2016. But the idea there is that John and I can be sitting at two different computers, two different places in the world, and actually working in the same design at the same time. So we are moving in that direction. Some of the ways that we get closer to that is, let's say John and I are working together. I have this file available to me. What I can do is come in and save it. So I'm going to do a save as, and this will be a version that John and I can play with. It'll be Hoffman UI Kit for John, let's just say, or can go with that. Notice that I can save this on my local computer or to a cloud document. If I come in and save it as a cloud document, it will reside in the cloud. Notice up here that it's saving in the background, so it's saving it up to the cloud. As I continue to work, I no longer really need to save my work. It will continually keep track of what I'm doing, and if I do a save as, I can save a variation of it. If I make a mistake, I can undo all the way back to the beginning of the session to the very first edit that I made. So once this is done saving, or probably even while it's in the process of it, I can come over to the share button now. And in the share dropdown, we've added a new menu item called share document. And this allows me to come in and basically send access to this document to John. So if I know his Adobe ID, don't tell me, John, we're just pretending. I'm overloading my computer here, doing Facebook Live and trying to upload this document and share with John, by the way. But I can type in John's Adobe ID here and basically invite him to have access to the document. So he may be doing usability studies. I may be doing user interface design. We know what each other is doing to make changes in the document. He can open up the document, make changes, save it to the cloud. When I go to open it, I will open the last version that he saved. So that's a baby step in the direction of co-editing. Not the same thing, but definitely some of the building blocks that we're taking to move in that direction. So John's saying it's been hard to get people to switch from Sketch because of the Planet App IO plugin. I guess that's the good, exciting thing, I think, for us as well. At Max in October last year, so about 5 months ago, we did announce the availability of plugins. We have over 150 plugins available, and they are here. If I go under the menu to discover plugins, I can look for plugins that are here. And I think many of the better plugins that have made a lot of sense from the world of Sketch have come over and are available for XD. As I mentioned, Sketch has 10 years of building out a community. There are a lot of plugins that are kind of just okay, in my opinion, but there are some terrific, really performant plugins that are great to have that I'd love to see them on the XD side. There's been a lot of community outreach for plugins. As I mentioned, more being added really pretty quickly, and this directory will keep an eye on those for you to let you know what's available. Okay. So John is saying, on a good note, he's been around. I was in Macromedia when Adobe bought Macromedia, and I was on Adobe Fireworks for about 4 years, and it was in its day a terrific prototyping app for prototyping web and mobile applications. The world today, I think the opportunity for XD is a different one when it comes to prototyping. But that's where the code name Sparkler came from, which was the XD core intention when we began developing, was to look at how we could look at modern day prototyping comparable to what Fireworks had done, 10 years ago, and see how we could offer a tool like XD. Some of the hints of the directions that we're taking is the fact that we really talk about XD being for designing for all sorts of screens. It's not just for mobile and desktop. It's for voice-activated devices. So being able to use voice recognition and speech playback to interact with a voice-enabled device. We kind of snuck a feature out in the market without announcing it mid-release, and that was support for drag gestures. So we delivered Auto Animate, I think it was in January of this year. And when we did so, we had to do more work in our web browser preview to make sure that auto animations previewed accurately in the browser. We did deliver that in the last release, so that would have been February of this year. And kind of without mentioning it quite yet, we've added support for drag gestures in the web browser as well. So drag gestures are another terrific example of how modern day users use trackpads to engage with interfaces, and being able to simulate a drag as well as a click or a voice command are ways that XD is going to really break away from traditional prototyping and look at the much broader world of experiences as they engage with humans. I'm kind of rattling on here, and I've only got a window of about a half hour. So I think that this was just a good session to show off, which is, if you love XD, I'm just going to summarize again. If you love XD and you're really pleased with it, you're new to it, and you love it, definitely go mining for content that might be out there historically between communities of Illustrator content, Photoshop content, and Sketch content. The conversion process is incredible. The fidelity, we do carry over. I didn't show this all that much, but we do carry over groups and layers, and a lot of the, even if you do define wires in Sketch, which is a pretty new inclusion for them, they've started adding some ability to do flows between artboards. If you do define that in Sketch, those wires will come over into the prototyping mode of XD as well. So if you work with colleagues and it's their tool of choice and you love XD, great. You can receive content from them. If you're new on XD or just wanting to leverage the content that's been out there for those 10 years, go look around, leverage the community, and bring that content with you. That's it for this week. I am always open to hearing ideas that you like covered in sessions. I do this probably about once a month, and I also take responsibility for announcing the new features in a blog, and on YouTube, there's a whole bunch of new feature videos that are out there. So I encourage you to go check that out. Drop me a line if you'd like. Don't spam me, but I'm Dani, D-A-N-I, at Adobe. Let me know some ideas of things you'd like to cover that you haven't seen in some of these Facebook Live sessions. I will go ahead real quickly here. I'm going to jump to YouTube and just quickly get away from politics to my channel. To just show you the content that's here. So if you're brand new to XD, there's a 10-part series that goes along with the tutorial file that's built into XD that takes you through just brand new getting started to XD. As I mentioned, for What's New videos, I've been doing this for about a year. There's going to be another 6 that are added pretty soon, but there's about 38 new feature videos that are here that within a few minutes take you through new capabilities, and then any of the past tips and tricks that I've done before. So if you have an idea, maybe take a glance, see if it's something that I've already covered. If it's there, watch it. If not, drop me a line. Let me know what you'd like to see covered going forward. Thank you, everyone, for your time. I look forward to seeing you here again.